So one of my earlier videos, I talked about this area above the door here was bowed out, and I had mentioned I was going to use like a Japanese saw, like a flexible saw, to cut away. There was a comment on the video that suggested I use a rasp. So I'm going to give this a shot, see how it works, and see if we can get this area flattened out. Well, that worked pretty good. So what I did is I just did a quick kind of pass over the whole thing, just because the whole thing was bowed out. And then I kind of fine-tuned it by grabbing my 6-foot level and putting it up there, seeing where it's the point that it's pivoting on, and marking that with a pencil, and then cutting away those larger areas until it just keeps getting smaller and smaller until the pivot points are really small. It does look like I need to maybe cut a small thin piece of wood to shim right there at the top, the head of the door. I'm going to use my horseshoe shims and get the size, and then I'm going to rip down a piece of wood and tack it in place, because that top part is not in the same plane as the jamb or the side parts. So. Last night I put together some plans. I drew up some plans for the pony wall based off the plans on the drawings for the house. You know, I had to take into account like subtracting out 1.5 inch overhang for the countertop, and we're eventually planning on putting like a hinoki shiplap on the outside. I think temporarily though, because it's going to be hard to source that. Or expensive, one or the other. So temporarily we're going to be just putting drywall on there to finish that outside face, and then eventually we'll put the hinoki on there. So I had to account for that in all my drawings so that the cabinets will line up properly with the outside surface. So I'm going to start cutting boards, and I'll just have some video of that, and we'll get into it. Just start out by cutting these longer 2x6, or the shorter 2x6s that are on either side of the island. They should be 4 foot 7 3/4. The bottoms of the island pony wall are going to be pressure treated because they're going to be in direct contact with the concrete. I'm going to leave it a little long, and then so that I can square up the factory end at the end afterwards. So I'm going to cut it at 4 foot 8. All right. So bought myself a Christmas gift to replace that really old Delta miter saw I had. The wall sliding compound double bevel miter saw was on sale. Like I think it was $150 off or so. And I bought that. So I have my top and bottom plates cut for all the walls, and then I have 3 studs here and 3 studs there cut. There's going to be a double stud on either end, of all the walls. But before I go too crazy cutting a bunch of studs to length, I want to actually just kind of put this together and set it up on the floor and see if make sure that the counters or the walls are actually level. So if the floor isn't level, then I need to account for that to make sure that my counter stays level when they put it on. So I'm going to put this together now. So I built this box with just 2 studs, this middle square, and it's pretty good, but it can be better. So if I stick a 3/16 inch shim on this side here, it definitely gets more towards the center. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make this board here 3/16 of an inch longer than this one here. This one's not wasted. I'll use it over on this side or something like that as my double stud. But yeah, I'm gonna try and make it as perfect as I can, because I'm a perfectionist. All right, now with it slightly offset, it's better. We're back at the site here, and so yesterday afternoon I built the 3 walls and just put a few studs in there, made the boxes. Everything's level, they're all in the same plane. So now I'm just gonna cut the rest of the 2x6 studs just to fill in the stud locations. So let's get started. All right, it's all built. I got double studs on either end, plus a double stud here in the middle, so that I can have a spot to attach this. You know, I shot from through this board into the double stud, and then I put a double stud in there. Same thing over here, double shot through this board to get into here, and then put a second stud in there, and double studs on the ends here. Nailed it down to the concrete, except for in here and at the other end, because I wanted to put the double stud in first. Everything is all perfectly in the same plane all the way across, and all level and square to this wall here, this back kitchen wall, square to like within a 1/16 basically, but you know. And it's all, I also checked it against that wall there too. It's also square to that. The distance between this wall and that wall is the same as this wall and that wall. I spent some time, I was like pulling the corners, and I'm like, why am I getting such a big difference? I'm like, oh wait, you know, I don't think it would give me a square measurement, because I don't know, it wasn't giving me, it was like off by like a 1/4 inch, and I was like, I couldn't figure it out. But when I measure here to here and here to here and right in the middle, it's all the same distance. So you know, they must be square. I think when they put the slab on here, it'll be good, because it's the same distance between that end of that, the edge, outside edge of that wall and the outside edge of this wall, all the way across. And it's the same distance from here to here. It is from there to there. So, all right, I'm actually going to put some blocking in here. I mean, it's just for the base cabinets, to it, something to attach to in the back. So We're gonna finish that up. No.
It's broken.
Mm-hmm.
It's broken.
Okay, all done. Stable as a rock. Chi, don't do that, please. So, like we talked about, what we're gonna finish temporarily with is probably like 1/2-inch drywall or something like that, or if we have 5/8 left over when we do the house, we can just use that. And then, but the final covering is going to be the Hinoki shiplap. Do we sew on shiplap?
I don't know.
Shiplap. So we'll just do the Hinoki shiplap.
It smells nice too.
Ooh.